Greetings! Thank you for lending an ear to The Voice of the Times for Thursday, January 28, 2021. For today's editorial, Green Spending Key to Economic Recovery. In a brief research note released earlier this month, credit ratings giant Moody's Investor Service made some interesting observations about the so-called ESG, environmental, social, governance spending across the Asia-Pacific or APAC region. In carrying out their policies for economic recovery from the effects of the coronavirus pandemic, many governments in the region have taken advantage of the circumstances to advance environmental resilience and sustainability. Moody's noted that compared with other regions in the world, such as Europe, the effort in APAC is not as large overall and does have a wide disparity from country to country. However, one Moody's official stressed, green stimulus measures in the region have been large by historical standards. The Philippines is a bit of an exception, however, and should strongly consider accelerating some of its recent promising policy developments into tangible action and investment, because the experience of some of our regional neighbors shows that this bodes well for a faster and more substantial return to economic growth. As Moody's explained, a significant proportion of the economic stimulus rolled out by APAC countries has been directed toward obvious immediate needs, such as food, housing, and income support, and fiscal relief for businesses. In the Philippines, the stimulus has amounted to about 5% of gross domestic product or GDP so far, which is toward the lower end of the spectrum, ranging from about 16%, which is Singapore, to about 4%, which is Indonesia. The focus on critical current financial needs is understandable, but devoting part of that stimulus to environment-related investment has turned out to be value-adding. Countries that are recovering faster in terms of GDP growth are also those that are spending more on ESG. Malaysia, for instance, which directed about 13% of its stimulus to sustainability spending, is expected to grow at about a 6.7% rate this year. The Philippines, which has spent very little of its stimulus for ESG initiatives, is forecast to grow at a much slower 5.5 to 5.9% rate. There are some rather simple reasons why green spending can help boost an economy. Job creation in businesses that may not have existed before and in construction are obvious ones, but what is even more significant is the potential to substantially reduce long-term costs, particularly in light of the Philippines' extreme vulnerability to climate change and climate-related disasters. More resilient infrastructure, agriculture, and housing reduce future losses from calamities, and the time and cost required for recovery. Likewise, the reduction of environmental risks to public health reduces those costs and improves the population's productivity. Since Moody's is a credit ratings agency, it naturally also pointed out the correlation between higher levels of ESG spending and higher sovereign credit ratings. For those in the country who view the Philippines' credit rating as a key indicator of the success of economic policy, the direct relationship between lower environmental risk and lower credit risk should not be overlooked. Fortunately, thanks largely to the efforts of the Department of Energy and its Secretary, Alfonso Cusi, the Philippines does not necessarily have to start from square one in realizing the benefits of green stimulus, but simply has to translate some promising policy directions into concrete action. Recent policy decisions, such as imposing a moratorium on the development of new coal power plants, removing restrictions on foreign investment in the geothermal sector, and strengthening some parts of the Philippines' renewable energy plan, will encourage sustainable growth. Other policy advances elsewhere that have environmentally friendly aspects can be leveraged for expanded investment in green initiatives. For example, the new Motor Vehicle Inspection System, or MVIS, which we discussed in this space on Wednesday, among other things, seeks to prevent polluting vehicles from operating on our roads. This can be used as a springboard for incentivizing the expansion of the market for greener vehicles. Likewise, the Duterte administration's ongoing efforts in its Build, Build, Build infrastructure initiative provides many opportunities for green development extending far beyond his remaining term, particularly in the provision of various mass transit systems, but potentially in other areas as well, such as green design in public buildings and other facilities. And that's the editorial for Thursday, January 28, 2021. For more news and information, get a copy of the Manila Times on print, subscribe to its digital edition, or log on to www.manilatimes.net. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, and listen to the voice of the Times.